Have you ever felt the weight of a conflict you couldn't resolve? A final message. A door slammed shut. A person you once trusted now feels like a ghost. Not because they're gone, but because they left without giving you a chance to speak. Maybe they blocked you. Maybe they walked away after blaming you, and now you're left holding a story that no one else is willing to finish. You lie awake, replaying the moment, rewriting the conversation, imagining the version where they finally understood. And it hurts. Not just because it ended, but because it ended unfinished. But here's the part we often miss. The real suffering doesn't come from what happened. It comes from the belief that it still needs to be fixed. And that's where this video begins. Not in the pain, but in the path out of it. What you're going to learn isn't a motivational phrase or a quick distraction. It's a shift in how you think, how you relate to others, and most of all, how you relate to yourself. And we're going to learn it through the quiet, powerful lens of Michel de Montaigne, a man who lived through war, betrayal, and chaos, and still found peace in a world that had no intention of giving it to him. The human mind craves resolution. It hates ambiguity. It wants answers, finality, closure. We are wired to complete stories, close loops, and explain away tension. Because tension to the brain feels like danger. So when someone leaves in the middle of a conflict, when they shut you out, block you, ghost you, twist the truth, or disappear, your brain doesn't just register, "It's over." It registers, "This is unsafe. This is incomplete. We need to fix this to survive." And so it kicks into overdrive. It obsesses. What if I had said this? What if I had walked away earlier? What if I had defended myself better? What if they misunderstood me entirely? These aren't just casual thoughts. They are your nervous system trying to restore balance, but doing it in a loop that goes nowhere. Because these questions don't lead to answers. They lead to more questions, more hypotheticals, more emotional exhaustion. They're not helping you heal. They're keeping you in conflict with reality. Write this down. Say it out loud. Let it sink in. Rumination is not resolution. It is repetition disguised as reflection. Your brain thinks it's solving a problem, but all it's doing is reinforcing the pain. You're not moving toward peace. You're not processing. You're circling, like a dog trying to lie down in a burning room. Every time you reimagine the moment, what you should have said, what they should have done, how it should have ended, you're handing your peace to a past that cannot change. The next time the loop starts, try this. Interrupt the pattern. Name it. Say, "I am revisiting a scene that is no longer real." Anchor into the present. Ask, what is real right now? What do I need in this moment? Redirect with truth. Say, I don't need to re-explain it. I need to release it. That's not spiritual bypassing. That's not pretending it didn't hurt. That's choosing to stop bleeding over something that already cut you. Because you can't think your way into peace, but you can interrupt the thought that's keeping you from it. So what does Montaigne have to do with all of this? He wasn't a therapist. He wasn't a monk. He wasn't a guru sitting on a mountain giving people neat little quotes about letting go. He was a man surrounded by conflict, religious wars, political betrayal, societal pressure. He watched as people clung to their ideologies, to their pride, to their need to be right, and destroyed each other in the process. He saw something that we still struggle to see today. Most people don't want resolution. They want self-protection. They don't listen to understand. They listen for defense, and if understanding you threatens the version of themselves they're trying to protect, they will block, ghost, rewrite, or walk away. It's not maturity. It's not peace. It's survival through self-deception. Montaigne teaches us a simple but uncomfortable truth. When someone walks away from a difficult conversation, it often has more to do with what they can't face in themselves than anything they saw in you. Let that land. It doesn't excuse what they did. It doesn't mean you weren't hurt. It just means this: you are not the villain in their silence, and you don't need to carry the shame they left behind. Because if they truly wanted resolution, they would have stayed in the room. Whenever your mind spirals with questions like, why did they block me? Why didn't they hear me out? How could they move on so easily? Stop. Ask yourself this instead. What might they be running from in themselves? This doesn't make them bad. It makes them human. It makes them someone who wasn't ready to face what you were willing to work through. And that is a form of strength. Not everyone has it. What did Montaigne do when confronted with the madness of others? He wrote. He reflected. He stepped back. Not out of fear, but out of clarity. Because clarity tells you when the conversation is no longer about truth. It tells you when you are no longer needed in someone else's narrative. And it tells you, most importantly, that walking away doesn't mean surrender. It means you've stopped arguing with people who are at war with themselves. Let's be honest. Even if you understand that the other person walked away to protect their ego, even if you know their silence says more about them than it does about you, there's still one thing that burns quietly underneath it all. You didn't get the last word. You didn't get to explain. You didn't get to defend yourself. You didn't get to close the loop with your truth intact. And that stings, because part of you still believes, if I could just say this one thing, they'd finally understand. If I could just explain myself the right way, it would all make sense. But that idea, that's the trap. The last word is rarely about words at all. It's not about communication. It's about control. It's a last attempt to manage the uncontrollable, to shape how they see you, to shape how you're remembered, to change a story you're no longer a part of. But Montaigne would ask, why waste your energy writing a chapter in a book they've already stopped reading? Next time you feel the urge to reach out, to explain, to send that message that says, I just need to say this one thing. Pause. Ask yourself, would they actually hear it with an open heart or with defense? Would it bring resolution or just reopen the wound? Is this really about connection or about being seen? And here's the honest truth. Being seen by someone who refuses to see you is not clarity. It's self-harm. You don't need the last word. You need the last inner word. The one you say to yourself when you finally stop waiting for theirs. You can write the message. You can scream the perfect line in your head. You can imagine the conversation where they finally get it. But at the end of it all, the power was never in convincing them. It was in deciding that you don't need their agreement to find peace. The last word you're really looking for isn't to them, it's to yourself. There's a quiet strength in realizing that this whole experience was never just about them. It wasn't about whether they understood you, or whether you got to say the perfect final words. It wasn't even about whether the story ended fairly. It was about what it woke up in you. The parts of you that still seek validation, the parts that long to be seen, heard and chosen, the parts that confuse peace with being right, or freedom with being understood. This wasn't just a painful ending. It was an invitation to grow, to ask, what does this reveal about the parts of me still waiting for permission to feel whole? What version of myself do I become when I stop needing someone else to resolve my discomfort? And maybe that's the deeper lesson Montaigne was pointing toward all along. That conflict doesn't just happen between people, it happens within us. Between the part that wants to hold on and the part that's ready to be free. Between the ego that wants justice and the soul that wants peace. And in choosing to let go, not because they apologized, not because it was fair, but because you're ready to move forward. You're not abandoning yourself. You're finally coming back to yourself. You're not becoming colder. You're becoming clearer. You're not building walls. You're building boundaries. And in that moment, the conflict isn't just over. It becomes something else entirely. It becomes a teacher, a mirror, a moment that shaped you. Not into someone harder, but into someone wiser. So let them walk away if they must. Let the story remain unfinished if it has to. Let silence be the final sentence. Because you don't need a perfect ending to be at peace. You just need the courage to write the next chapter, with honesty, with compassion, and with the understanding that sometimes The person you needed closure from was you.